So we're going to discuss
So,
resilience and resistance demonstrated by the population demographic that our group is researching, which is Asian American women, trafficked women, right?
mhm. In the United
Mhm.
States, yes.
And okay, well, start with, I guess, resilience.
So
Um,
this is what I found on resilience. Resilience among Asian American trafficking survivors requires a combination of culturally tailored support, legal aid, and community empowerment to address trauma, stigma, and systemic challenges. The main foundations consist of tailored mental health services, economic security, and to narrative sharing to restore lives.
That's about right. Um, so I think a lot of it is like mostly community and mutual aid. I think community support, finding people who can like speak the language and refer them to the right services and have like people to talk to that can relate, like with it like peer relationships and stuff.
I think since especially Asian Americans community would be a huge part of it. Um, so I know that they have different, some of them have different religious aspects. So I think a huge part of resilience and resistance for them would be to have a good community, a good culture.
And also like
I
their values, right? Oh, sorry, Caitlin, go.
You're good. I agree with that. I also think like religion and advocacy are really important. Religion brings important things such as bringing the community together, things such as prayer and just having each other can help you through hard times within this topic. And advocacy can be important as it leads to feelings of just empowerment during hard times and being able to like work with each other and just have trust and foster strong relationships can help within that.
Yeah.
For sure. This topic definitely involves like a lot of trauma and exploitation and also like the vulnerability that particular cultures might endure within the society. So definitely having respect, like cultural respectful treatment and services, and then also for them, like you said, to be able to like reconnect with family, other peers within their cultural group, understanding the language, their spirituality, things like that. It allows people to to take back their autonomy and their power, especially after being victims. And another thing I wanted to say was like I read somewhere that resiliency is can just be as basic as surviving. Just being a survivor in itself is a form of resilience. So I thought that was really interesting. So yeah, just reclaiming their identity back and being able to build on their autonomy and that decision making, whether it be through those like culturally appropriate channels.
Yeah,
Agree.
I
I
think
feel like
trauma
it's
informed care would be paramount with this group of people.
yeah, and I feel like just the human condition kind of gives us that kind of um I don't know, the adaptation, like our resilience and our resistance all kind of come from like subconscious places, I feel like a lot of the time. Um, and you could be resisting and you don't even know. Or,
Mm-hmm.
just like, sassing off or popping off at somebody or, speaking up for yourself or doing all those kind of things. So I guess this is my little segue into like resistance. But
Mm-hmm.
but but yeah, I mean, I feel like identity comes into effect, and like speaking out is a really important thing for this community or this culture or group, I guess, is like some places, um, like in some cultures, women are supposed to be subservient. They're not supposed to speak out. They're not supposed to have opinions. They're not supposed to, you know, like have these horrible experiences, these traumatic experiences. And I feel like at any point in any way, their resistance is monumental because of the suppression that comes even from the community most sometimes, and um, like mental health and I don't know. It's just it's brave and it's intense. But yeah, for resistance, I feel like survivor-led advocacy is a big one too, so they can participate together and have like strength and unity.
Absolutely. Resistance, yeah, it can be, like you said, very passive and almost like a micro form of
Mhm.
resistance, like just talking back or, saying something to your manager, just sticking up for yourself. But I guess in this specific context, like, I guess the more active forms could be actually escaping, their
Yeah.
perpetrator, attempting to leave those trafficking situations. Like you said, like it is so brave. Like I could never imagine being in such a situation, especially within, like you said, like those barriers, those systemic barriers, such as like having a language barrier, not knowing who to go to if you don't have family, if you don't have a safe haven, things like that. So yeah, seeking that help despite the fear and the language barriers is very brave. And then also being able to try to, you know, protect other people who may be in that situation as well, you know, other Asian American women who may feel the same way, and like you said, like advocacy for this specific situation. And then another thing is silence is also, I guess, protection in unsafe environments. You know, people, like you said, like they're not allowed to speak, they're not allowed to say anything, so even their silence in a way is them protecting themselves, and as a form of resistance, just so that they can like kind of think in the long run, like, how am I going to get out of here? And that in itself is bravery. It might not seem, it might seem like passive and meek, but it's quite the contrary. So yeah, and then like you said, just advocacy and storytelling by survivors so that other people are aware in the future.
I definitely agree with that. I also think as far as like resistance, I think one thing that stands out to me is kind of like the massage industry. I know we've talked about that a little, just like the awful ways that people get trapped into that labor. Like they'll come to America for like this great job or whatever, and they really don't realize like what they're getting themselves into, and they'll just get tracked and trafficked, and it can just lead to a very unsafe environment and just such an awful way for these people to like live life and be stuck like this. So I can't even imagine like having to go through that or like know people who like experience that.
Mhm. I agree. I agree with everything everyone has said. I think resilience and resistance is something that it's difficult, but there are many survivors out there who have gone through it and gotten out.
One of my favorites, I don't remember where I came across it, but one of my favorite things is I found this artist who did these like elaborate like gallery settings and stuff, and it was all kind of reclaiming the like cultural reclamation and having art shows and telling their truths through this art, and like how hypersexualized Asian women can be, and how this plays into the resilience, because if you come out of that situation and then you could be emboldened to just like combat the entire system, in the entire mindset of like the sexualization and Hollywood and the stereotypes and all the stuff that like like social America has like placed on Asian American women. But it was
I
really
agree.
cool.